Parliament now joining in. Mr. Panda, thanks for being with us on the show. Big day today, a landmark verdict and judgment. Now, I don't know if you've had the chance to go into any of the details. What one is awaiting some clarity on is the applicability of this judgment on the manner in which Aadhaar is being rolled out in the country. Your first thoughts, sir?
Let me put things in context. I've been writing about Aadhaar and privacy, data security and data protection for several years now. And in fact, I have introduced a private member's bill in the Lok Sabha on specifically these issues. So the stand I have taken is that privacy is indeed a right, and now that the Supreme Court has ruled it as a fundamental right, that's a welcome development. But also, I have taken a stand which I'm awaiting details of the court order as to, no right can be absolute, and there will be certain requirements of narrowly defined exceptions. Now, if you remember when the court hearing was going on, the Supreme Court itself, in verbal comments, many of the judges said that there have to be what they were calling case-to-case exceptions for issues like national security. I have been defining that as narrowly defined exceptions. And for that, I think we have to wait until the full judgment comes out because we don't know the details yet. Now, regarding Aadhaar, there is a lot of confusion because Aadhaar, being such a large program, has triggered this debate at this national level. But the reality is, privacy and data security has been a crying need long before Aadhaar because of online transactions, because of marketing companies sharing our details, because we ourselves mindlessly give our permissions to apps and websites when we go online. So the stand I have taken is that it's not either or. You can have Aadhaar and you can have a right to privacy. You can have credit card transactions and you can still have a right to privacy. So it's not either or. It has to be a fundamental right with narrowly defined exceptions.
Yeah, I know the problem, I guess, Mr. Panda, will be who is liable and to what extent if there is a breach. Because it could become commercially very, very unviable for several finance and telecom service providers if they are liable to huge damages in case of breach, isn't it?
Not at all. I think, again, this is a very black and white view of privacy, which is not true. In the 21st century, we have to have certain parameters defined by law as to how security and our data is protected. At the same time, we cannot, we can't go back and function in the 14th century. We have to have all the modern digital conveniences that are a fact of life. So the bill that I have introduced in the Lok Sabha, for example, puts specific obligations on the data handlers and the data controllers.
Yes.
So which means big websites and big social media platforms and companies that have access to your data, as well as government agencies that have access to your data. So I think it's very extreme to say that telecom companies will suffer if they have to treat your data carefully. That's not true at all. For example, we have had a do not call registry, as you know, for some years now. And telecom companies are required to abide by that, not allow that the database of telephone numbers be given to marketing companies without your permission. So use that as an example. That can be applied to all your data.
Sir, to take the point forward, can you tell us what exactly is the bill hoping to achieve, and will you have to perhaps make any amendments in the light of the judgment? Because the point you just raised about misuse of personal information like telephone numbers, it's rampant, it's widespread, and largely across the private sector.
Right. So I would like to reiterate the key aspect of my bill and what I believe ought to be the law, which is that it is not either or. You don't have to have an idea that privacy and data security means that you can't have Aadhaar, or you can't have credit cards, or you can't use telephones, or you can't use Google Maps. That's actually quite ridiculous in the 21st century. But what we can and should expect is that the law will require our informed consent. We ourselves give mindless consent every time we download an app. And as a society, we have given certain consent, such as CCTV cameras in public areas, which can invade our privacy and identify us with Google face recognition apps and such. So the thing is, the emphasis should be that on whatever is our private data, our informed consent should be required by any social media site or telecom company or anybody to share that.
So now will the Aadhaar matter come back to the five-judge constitutional bench?
Well, there were two cases going on, as you know. There was a public interest litigation on Aadhaar, which was kept in abeyance until the issue of privacy could be decided.
Exactly.
Now the issue of privacy has been decided, so yes, the other hearing on Aadhaar will resume. But again, let me emphasize, this is where there is a lot of confusion in the public debate, because some activists have indeed been asking for an absolutist view of privacy, and they say that Aadhaar should be scrapped. But that's ridiculous. It's like saying that credit cards should be scrapped or Google Maps should be scrapped. That's just not at all realistic in the 21st century. There have to be obligations and rights on those who handle our data, and there have to be punishments prescribed in law for violating those obligations. But in other words, it will not impact the implementation of Aadhaar.
Okay. No. Now, if that five-judge bench will have to decide. One of the points in front of them was whether PAN cards can be linked to Aadhaar. Now, will we have to wait for case law to evolve to tell us, what can be mandated and not on the basis of Aadhaar?
Indeed, I expect that the cases concerning privacy, whether it is about Aadhaar or about PAN cards or about credit cards or about telephone companies, they will be tested. The law will be tested over the next few years, without a doubt. So I think the contours of what will be the final law will probably take at least 2 or 3 years, in my opinion, to shape out. But I do not expect that this will lead to a black and white situation where either you have privacy or you have modern conveniences.
Okay. Finally, Mr. Panda, any bearing, you think, any immediate bearing on the likes of
say DBT, right?
DBT, and actually I was also talking about the global data giants, Facebook, Amazon,
WhatsApp,
Google.
private policy.
Yeah, I mean, all of these global giants operating in India. Any immediate bearing on their operations, maybe an additional sort of a term introduced every time you open the app saying, or a promise that, your personal details will not be leaked. I'm just trying to understand whether you think this changes anything on ground from tomorrow with respect to those who own big data.
This will change many things on the ground, but not necessarily from tomorrow, because the contours of the law have to fall into place. Specific aspects of it will be challenged by activists, by companies, and so on and so forth. Now, please understand that the big social media sites like Facebook and Google and all of that, they do have consent which we are mindlessly giving. Every time we use Google Maps, we give consent. So they will say that we have given our consent, but I think the law will require that consent to become much more simple and much more informed. So yes, it will have an impact in the coming years.
Yeah, I guess the point is that, yes, every time we click on that app, we do give consent for the app to access our data. What we do not give consent to is for that data to be given to a third party for a certain sum of money.
Just
That's
for the immediate...
True. Yeah. That's not true, because you have not read the form. Most people give consent mindlessly without reading the terms and conditions. So you may think that you have not given consent to be shared, for your data to be shared with third parties, but in fact, most of the time you have actually. So this is what will start changing.
Okay. Well, just a final question. Immediately, should we expect that mandatory linking of PAN to Aadhaar, as well, say, direct benefit transfer, which based on Aadhaar, could also have to be modified?
I don't think so. But of course, we will have to wait for the Supreme Court judgment on that. But to me, it does not make any logical sense to deny the vast benefits that we are indeed getting from the linkage of DBT to biometrics. So here I just want to say one final thing. There are many activists who take an absolutist view, and they say that Aadhaar should be scrapped, but they're not saying that credit cards should be scrapped. No. They're not saying cell phones should be scrapped.
Or that Google Maps should be.
So that's just not logical. So I don't expect that.
Fair point. Thank you very much, Jay Panda, for explaining in detail what we should be in for. Life doesn't change immediately, but over the course of the next couple of years, we will see perhaps a more clear way in which the service providers will ask us permission to share data. For one, I think immediately people will not ask us to enter our mobile numbers every time you enter a building. There are a whole host of buildings in India who require that. And surprisingly, government buildings don't require that. Reserve Bank of India doesn't require that. So they know that the law cannot force you to give certain things. I think they require email, but they don't require you to to reveal your mobile number. But a lot of WhatsApp policies, privacy policies, etc., are going to be modified for sure in the light of what the details of this judgment will say and how further cases will evolve.
Well, I guess as long as it can